Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we're going to be going over 6 signs that a woman is emotionally unavailable. Also, want to preface by saying these also apply to men, but since my audience is 95% male and I give you tips about women from a woman's perspective, we're talking about the ladies today. So to kick it off here and make sure that we're all on the same page to start, emotional unavailability is a term used to describe someone who is unwilling or unable to form a deep emotional connection with another person. I do want to mention that this can be caused by a variety of factors such as past trauma, a fear of intimacy, a lack of emotional awareness and skills. It's something that people have the ability to work on and heal about themselves, but the important thing to note is that they have to want to do that. Remember, you can't change someone, and you shouldn't have to. So why should you care about this when you're dating? Well, because it can lead to a lack of intimacy or overall connection within a relationship. It can also indicate deeper issues that might need to be addressed in order for the relationship with this person to thrive and flourish. So these are 6 signs that someone is emotionally unavailable. The first sign is flings versus serious relationships. So take a look at her relationship history. Keep in mind there's more to someone than the relationship history, and it doesn't necessarily paint the full picture. This isn't black and white, right? However, it can give you some clues as to what might be the overarching issues here. Has she had a ton of casual flings, situationships, or hookups, but never something more long-term or serious? It's common that people who are emotionally unavailable go through people like hotcakes because they peace out before it can develop into anything more meaningful. Someone who is emotionally unavailable might have a lot of surface level relationships or go through people very quickly and never progress into those more serious, deeper emotional connections with people because they are unable to do so. Just because someone has not been in a serious relationship does not mean that they're emotionally unavailable. There can be a lot of other factors there, but this is just something to note and keep in mind, and maybe just try to understand why they have not been in a serious relationship, but they've been able to be in all of these situationships, hookups, or flings. And before we get into the next point, big thanks to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Factor makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. Their team of gourmet chefs create each meal using only ingredients with integrity to help you feel your best all day long. Too busy with summer plans to cook but want to make sure you're still eating well? With Factor, skip the trip to the grocery store and skip the chopping, prepping, and cleaning up too, while still getting the flavor and nutritional quality that you need. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, so all you have to do is heat and enjoy, then get back outside and soak up the warm weather. With 34 chef-prepared, dietitian-approved weekly options, there's always something new to try. Plus, you can round out your meal and replenish your snack supply with an assortment of 36+ quick bites, smoothies, juices, and more satisfying add-ons. Prioritizing my health and wellness is a top priority for me, and Factor saves me so much time and is my go-to lunch when I don't want to cook during the day. They have so many nutritious options for keeping my fridge well-stocked and offer options that make it easy to stick to my wellness goals. I'm obsessed. So head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code Courtney50 to get 50% off of your first Factor box. The next sign is that she sees vulnerability as a turnoff and will often use this against you. She might say things like, "You're so sensitive," or "Be a man and get over it." This is not good. People who are emotionally unavailable can have a hard time expressing their feelings and then project that onto others. They might shut down when they feel emotion and expect their partner to do that as well. Tough or serious conversations are really difficult for them, so they tend to avoid it altogether. And newsflash, this isn't productive or healthy for cultivating a long-term relationship. Forming a deep connection with a romantic partner requires a level of vulnerability and intimacy. It's often difficult to even reach that point with someone who is emotionally unavailable or emotionally immature. And I'm not saying she sees you breaking down crying on the first date about your ex as a turnoff. That is a bad thing. That is not a bad thing. That is you emotional vomiting and acting in a way that you should not be acting on a first date, right? That's not what I'm talking about here. I think it's important to also understand the difference between emotional vomiting on someone, sharing these deepest parts of yourself too soon with someone that can make them feel uncomfortable. That's not what I'm talking about here either. I'm talking about once you've gotten to know this person or you open up to them and you try to connect with them, and they see that as a turnoff and they're unable to do that themselves as well. That is when it becomes an issue, because vulnerability and emotional connection is needed in a relationship. If you do not have that in your relationship, you do not have a relationship. And no, not all women will use you being vulnerable with them or opening up or sharing parts of yourself as a weapon against you. That is something that emotionally unavailable and not so great women do. So don't put that on every single woman out there. I promise not every woman is going to do this. There are women who are emotionally available and emotionally mature. I promise they exist. I know many of them. The next sign is that she's not affectionate consistently. Going off the last point here, emotionally unavailable people can tend to avoid any form of intimacy. And this is not just physical, this is emotional and other types of intimacy as well. Some examples here would be sex, compliments, touch. These are all things that an emotionally unavailable person might try to avoid or just stop doing altogether. And I do want to make it clear that your partner might have a different sex drive than you. That's not what I'm talking about here. I think that's very normal. Men tend to often have higher sex drives than women, and that doesn't mean that your partner is emotionally unavailable. There are many different reasons why a woman's sex drive might not be as high, or it might be different than yours. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, just want to reiterate that that's not what I'm talking about here. Intimacy and affection are emotional as well, not just physical. And not having this at all in your relationship can leave the two of you feeling more like roommates who are living parallel lives than romantic partners. And again, this goes farther than just physical intimacy. It can also be thoughtful gestures that you might do for her where she fails to see or appreciate the sentiment behind it. My next sign is that she's unavailable, literally. I try not to say literally often, but in this scenario, I mean quite literally unavailable. There are some different ways that this one might present itself, so I'll give you some common examples. One would be she ghosted, the most obvious. She's hot and cold. She only sees you on her terms, i.e. she's too busy. The list goes on here. I've talked about all of these points very extensively in other videos, so I'm not going to get too into it here, but basically really inconsistent communication. She's not talking to you. She's leaving you on red for 2 weeks and then reaching out. She's not making time for you. She only wants to see you when she needs something or it's on her terms or convenient for her. There are many different things to consider here, but really an inconsistency in communication is the biggest takeaway. And also keep in mind, sometimes it's not necessarily that she's emotionally unavailable. It could just be that she doesn't like you. So, the next sign is that she's very defensive. Maybe she always plays the victim or is unable to admit to her mistakes. A big thing you'll notice in regards to not taking accountability is she will get incredibly defensive about it. They might even find a way to blame you for their mistakes to get out of owning up to it. The issue here is that taking accountability is how we grow and how we evolve as individuals and also within a relationship. It's incredibly important. People who are emotionally unavailable prefer to keep their true emotions hidden and avoid talking about them, and they use defense mechanisms like projection or denial to calm themselves. So you'll notice that someone who is emotionally unavailable or emotionally immature in general gets defensive, can't own up to things, always plays the victim, can't take accountability. All of these things kind of go hand in hand. And my last sign is that she seeks perfection in herself and also you. I see this so often now, especially on social media, and I believe it's because of the illusion of endless options and everyone striving for perfection as we compare ourselves, our romantic partners, our houses, cars, to everyone else's online. Honorable mention here to all of the ick content of girls ending things with guys or getting turned off by the most minuscule things that truly don't actually matter at all. And you might be thinking, well, why did they do this? Well, because they project their insecurities and endless search for perfection into their dating life, and because of this, will write someone off for the smallest things. They are looking for what is wrong with you and will be quick to end things with you because of it. This doesn't work out well in the long term for so many reasons. Number one being perfect doesn't exist, missed opportunities, and disappointment time and time again. If we are constantly seeking perfection in ourselves and in others, we will just always be disappointed because it does not exist. This often stems from a deep insecurity and presents itself in relationships as nitpicking and finding things wrong with people so that they can be in control of it and end things before that person can end things with them and leave them feeling abandoned or less than perfect or not good enough. So there's a ton of psychological reasons behind this of why people do it. It often stems from trauma, something in our childhood, the way we were parented, things like that kind of, grow with us as we get a little bit older. But I want to reiterate a point that I mentioned at the beginning of the video here, and that is we have the ability to work on these things about ourselves. You don't have to be emotionally unavailable for your entire entire life. You can put in the work, put in the effort to heal these parts of yourself. It is possible to grow and evolve as an individual, which then will make you a better partner in a relationship. But something to keep in mind is that it's not your job to fix that person. It's not your job to make them change, to make them want to change. They have to want to do that and heal these parts about themselves. You cannot force someone to do that. So should you wait around for someone who is emotionally unavailable? Should you continue dating someone who is emotionally unavailable and is putting no effort or action in to fix these parts of themselves? My answer would be no. I think the effort and the action needs to be there in order for a relationship to flourish and to grow long term. And these signs or being emotionally unavailable doesn't mean that this person is a bad person. I think a lot of times we hear these buzzwords online and we automatically associate them with, oh, well, that means they're a bad person or they would be a horrible partner. Again, none of us are perfect. We all have things that we need to work on, but the aspect of actively working on ourselves needs to be there. We all have the potential to be better individuals and be better in our relationships. We just have to put in the work to get there. So guys, that is all I have for 6 signs that a woman is emotionally unavailable. I would love to hear your experiences or thoughts down in the comments below. Did you watch this and find some of the points resonated with you, whether that be in your relationship or even with yourself? Would love to hear some of your thoughts down below. If you like this video or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. I love connecting with all of you guys over on there as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.